If you watched the fight carefully, you would have noticed that Little Mac never had to dodge. He just wailed punch after punch on Honda until he was knocked down 3 times. This strategy has odds of over 1 in 40 million, and every move is frame perfect, so it's completely unviable for a human to ever perform. The strat humans used to beat Honda quickly uses 1 dodge. Okay, technically this demonstration used 2 dodges, but the first one is just a buffer to guarantee the second dodge is very tight. We can easily eliminate this dodge by instead throwing a star punch into the hook, which only deals 8 damage. By performing a guard manipulation and getting a good delay, we can then land a trio of base punches and blast a couple more star punches into Honda. By some of Honda's uppercuts by gut punching as he ducks down, and when we finally get a good pattern, we can land a final face punch to get the first knockdown. The only thing is, after the first hook from Honda, which only has a 75% chance to occur, his pattern is completely wide. It's uncontrollable and near impossible to even keep track of what punch is coming next. The good news is, we can cancel any punch he tries to throw at us with a gut punch. This uses up 1 heart, but since we start with 50 hearts, this isn't a problem. And if things get really bad, we'll also use his special attack several times in the fight, at 1 or 2 minutes in round 1, which we can use to get an instant knockdown. Even with pretty bad luck, this fight should be doable every single time. If you manage to perform phase 1 without losing any health, Honda will get up on a 1 count, which we can use to instantly send him back to the canvas with a single star punch. If you did take damage though, we can repeat the opening of phase 1, and since he will only have a maximum of 64 health, we will be able to get the second knockdown without delving too deep into the really random section of his pattern. Phase 3 ends up being the same as the worst case for phase 2, but slightly better, as he will only get up with a maximum of 6 health. All in all, the entire micro circuit is absolutely doable, dodgeless, every single time. As you can see, there are plenty of things we can do to avoid taking damage in this game. We can intercept opponents' punches to get stars and deal some damage. If we can't do that, we can cancel punches instead at the cost of 1 heart. We can even block punches to greatly reduce the damage we take, also at the cost of 1 heart. And on some very key punches like Tucker's jab, we can even stun them.
What am I supposed to do?
With all of these mechanics, we should be able to get pretty far into the game without ever having to dodge. Right? Well, you couldn't be more wrong, because this is as far as we go. The 4th fight in the game is Don Flamenco 1, and this fight is unique. For the duration of all 3 rounds, Don will stand there.
Right, no bed here anymore, huh?
When you do attack, you will block and retaliate with an uppercut. This uppercut can technically be intercepted repetitively, but only if you punch early enough in the animation. After we've been blocked, Don is well into his uppercut, and our punch just whiffs and we take a hit, and then the position is repeated. Don taunts us to attack, and we are powerless to do anything. Once we run out of hearts, Matt enters the pink state, and while he is pink, he can't attack until we've dodged enough punches in a row. Also during the pink state, Don is programmed to throw hook after hook. We have no choice but to take the knockdown. And when we finally get up, Don continues to taunt us. Now you see the problem with this fight. Forget trying to win. It's impossible to even deal a single point of damage to Don without dodging. We have no choice but to dodge his first uppercut after he blocks our punch. I time my punch to the last 60th of a second before he would block to get a frame perfect star and send him to the canvas. When Don gets up, he tries to catch us off guard with an uppercut, but since we can attack slightly earlier in the animation, we can now intercept it with a left gut punch repeatedly. It turns out that a dodgeless run is completely impossible in this game, so now the question becomes, what is the minimum amount of dodges this game can be beaten in? Let's find out. King Hippo is up next, and it should be no surprise that this fight can also be beaten without dodging. The only way to even start dealing damage to it is to intercept his open mouth punch with one of your face punches. The chance for him to open his mouth is only 3 in 8, and you need at least 3 open mouth punches to drain all of his health. So technically, he could stall out all of your hearts until you turn pink and are forced to take the knockdown. The only saving grace with taking a knockdown is that when Little Mac returns to the fight, Hippo's first punch is guaranteed to be an open mouth punch. I think with the absolute worst possible luck, this fight would become impossible, but since that is very unlikely to happen, Hippo is most definitely doable without dodging almost every single time. Great Tiger is up next, and once again, this fight is absolutely no challenge at all. For the first minute of the fight, Tiger is extremely patient and throws jabs in a slow rhythm. There is a very subtle tell for his punch. The gem on his turtle will flicker right before he jabs, and if you face punch during this gem flat, you will intercept the punch and also get a star. Doing this repeatedly and timing your star punches into other gem flashes will get you your first knockdown before the 1 minute mark. If we get the first and second knockdowns without taking any damage and the clock is still under 1 minute, Tiger will get up on 1 counts, and we can quickly knock him back down with a single star punch. Even if you find that strategy a little difficult, I made one that is much easier. Just like on Tiger, we can block and counter punch those jabs instead of intercepting them. It's a lot slower, but also much safer. Once we get to the 1 minute mark, Tiger switches to uppercuts, always going left then right in sets of 10, and we can intercept both of them if you gut punch on the same side. After the set of 10, here's a short break before resuming. During these breaks, you can easily land an unstunned star punch. Finally, if all else fails, we can block all of Tiger's magic Tiger punches and face punch upwards for an instant knockdown. The bottom line is, we have a way to counter every single one of Tiger's moves, and he is extremely predictable, which makes this fight another easy dodgeless win. The champ of the circuit is Bold Bull.
Why am I still using Exodia?
A little tougher. Just like most of the opponents before us, we can intercept a couple of his punches without face punch, his rolling jabs, and his hooks. The issue is Bold Bull's uppercuts. They hit hard, and there is nothing you can do to stop them in any way. For the first 20 seconds, he only throws rolling jabs in groups of 2, so there will be no issue there, and we can use the speedrun strategy and score the 17-second knockdown. After 20 seconds is where problems could arise. If we take a look at his pattern, he is guaranteed to begin with some hooks, but there is a decent chance he will go into his uppercuts, and there is also a chance that he will continue to throw them until you are forced to take the knockdown. Thankfully, the uppercut pattern is not guaranteed, so with some good luck, we can avoid it altogether. I begin by landing a couple of face punches, and also get a very useful random star which causes Bull not to dodge the following star punch. I intercept the first hook and land a star punch into the second. Finally, I manipulate the rolling jab pattern, which lets us get some very quick damage on him, and he is back to the hook pattern, where we can finally knock him down for the second time. Phase 3 is much the same. We can land face punches into the hooks to get stars, or use star punches to intercept the hooks, and as long as we make sure we get the rolling jab pattern, he will never attempt to uppercut us. With only one dodge having been used so far, we head into the toughest fights in the game, the World Circuit. Piston number 2 is unsurprisingly another easy fight. He'll perform his special bonsai attack at the 1 minute mark, and as long as we counter it, he will be knocked out. He spends several seconds at the start of the fight just standing around. This works in our favour as we wait out the clock. You will notice here that I block some of his uppercuts. Even though we still get hit by them, and we still lose 3 hearts for taking a hit, blocking an uppercut in this game reduces the damage by 8. This will be a very useful mechanic as long as these fights aren't all this easy. By the time the 1 minute mark comes around, Honda hasn't even knocked us down a single time, and we've won the first fight in the World Circuit. On to Soda Popinski. Soda Popinski has 3 different types of punches: his hooks, his uppercut, and his jab. His hooks can be intercepted by a right face punch, his jab can be intercepted by any face punch, and he can be frozen in his uppercut animation by holding down. During this freeze, we can not only hit a very easy gut punch, but also set a flag which guarantees our next star punch is an instant knockdown. Now that I've told you that we can directly counter every single one of his punches, you know this is going to be another dodgeless victory. So, because Don Flamenco 1 is apparently the only fight that's going to stop us, I'm going to show you a cool glitch, a way to dodge Soda's hook without dodging.
Let's see if this
By
works.
performing a left face punch or a left gut punch on a very specific frame.
Nope, never mind.
You can cause Soda and Little Mac to miss both of their punches at the cost of 1 heart. It looks a little goofy, but it's a neat glitch that isn't widely known. By performing 2 of these punches to avoid both of Soda's hooks, we can then wait until he uppercuts, freeze him, land our gut punch to get a star, and set the flag for the instant knockdown. and then we can finally wait for a safe chance to use our Star Punch to score the first knockdown. We can then repeat very similar steps for knockdowns 2 and 3 to secure another dodgeless victory. All of the fights so far have been confirmed to be doable dodgeless, with the exception of Don Flamenco 1, which was an absolute no. Maybe things will change for the next fight. Bold Ball 2. Yeah, with all these face punches, this fight is definitely going to be possible, and by possible, I mean the odds are so bad, I'm not even going to read out this number. Each one of these face punches has only a 15 in 256 chance to slip completely through his guard, and after blocking 2 hooks, we can force the ear rub pattern, which is the only opportunity we can use to land a Star Punch without him dodging. To set myself a challenge,
No!
I'm going to do this fight without landing any of these random face punches. Bold Ball has improved his defensive capabilities a lot since the last time we fought him, and our victory last time is because we exploited that. In the rematch, we can no longer intercept his rolling jabs or hooks like on Bold Ball 1, and his uppercuts are just as devastating as before. He even has a couple more gimmicks that are going to make this fight challenging. Firstly, he can only be knocked down by landing a Star Punch, or by countering his Bull Charge. Furthermore, he is also the only fight where you cannot land a Star Punch while he is standing still, or when he is performing a punch. He will always dodge. The only ways to land the necessary Star Punches is to dodge and stun him, which would mean adding more dodges into the run, which I don't want to do. Or to wait for this specific move known as the ear rub. During this, if we land a regular punch, we can get a free star, or instead, we can land a free Star Punch. If we take a look at Ball 2's pattern from 20 seconds onwards, we can see that there is a fork where we can guarantee the ear up, and it nicely steers us away from those deadly uppercuts. After the ear up follows 3 rolling jabs, and then 2 more hooks before the next ear up. This means that we will have to expend 5 hearts before we even get our next opportunity to deal damage. Once we run out of hearts, we're toast, as we cannot fight back, and will be forced to take a knockdown. If this fight is even possible without those random face punches, it's going to use the greatest stall tactics you will ever see. Ball 2 opens the fight with 4 rolling jabs, and I cancel them with a slightly slower right gut punch on the last possible frame before I get hit. He then goes into the ear up, and I once again use the right gut punch on the last possible frame to waste as much time as possible. Just before the clock hits 20 seconds and he changes into the pattern I showed you earlier, he goes for one last rolling jab, which also gets cancelled. He then enters the effects of the fight, where I cancel the double hooks, land my first Star Punch into the ear up, and then cancel the triple rolling jabs. I'm already down to just 5 hearts, which is just enough to get a star in the next ear up, but it won't be enough to use the Star Punch for some big damage. I've taken a nerf off Bull's health bar, and we are already pink. Bull goes much more aggressive once we run out of hearts, throwing a bunch of uppercuts which I block to reduce the damage that I take. Eventually, I'm forced to take the knockdown. Bull has drawn first blood, and we have used the first of our only 2 knockdowns. I get up on the count of 9, which gives me the largest refill and the most hearts to stall with. Once again, we begin the stall process, making sure we even get an ear up 1 frame before Bold Bull backs up for his Bull Charge. After getting an extremely long delay, I'm able to counter his attack and knock him down for the first time. Once he gets back up, the stalling resumes. I do my best to deal as much damage as possible, but once again, I run out of hearts just before the round ends, and I'm forced to take another uppercut, but at least it's not another knockdown. Round 2 begins with rolling jabs for the first 10 seconds, and I cancel them just fast enough to get near up 1 frame before his pattern change. The next Bull Charge is pretty early, at 30 seconds. I once again delay the trigger for the Bull Charge as long as possible by getting an ear up 1 frame before he backs up. Once again, I get some good luck to keep Bull at the back of the ring before he charges at us, where I can knock him down for the second time.
Yep, that's it.
Bull's next charge is at the 2-minute mark. Unfortunately, I don't quite have enough hearts to last until then, and I'm forced to take my second knockdown. If I get knocked down once more, Little Mac won't be able to get back up. I get knocked down again to make sure I get the most amount of health, but this time, it's mainly about the hearts. If I got up on any other count, I would only have 1 heart instead of 6. This time, Bull doesn't give me a super long delay at the back of the ring, and I counter the Bull charge, knocking him down for the third time. With only 6 hearts left, I don't quite have enough to get a second star, and use both of them to get the win. I end up having to use my final heart, and since I can't dodge, it's game over. Except, we are literally saved by the bell. We live to fight in round 3.
Another game over screen.
It's at this point I know I've done it. At 30 seconds, Bull will perform his final charge. The Bull charge is a 4-frame.
I'm not fighting with that, with Exodia.
First frame, treated like a regular knockdown. But if you hit any of the last 3 frames, Bull will be knocked out. This mechanic only applies in round 3. With the refreshment of hearts from the round change, I'm able to easily stall out until the charge and win by knockout. This fight is certainly not doable for a human, but it was nice to see that it is possible with near perfect inputs and plenty of RNG manipulation. Now, we get to rematch the guy who ruined this entire challenge run, the brick wall himself, Don Flamenco 2. While Bull 2 might have increased his defenses since his last fight, Don 2 has taken the opposite approach, enhanced offense. He no longer just sits still and waits for us to attack. He actually throws some punches. However, during these punches, he is completely open. During his jab, we can counter him in the gut, and during his hook, we can hit him with a left face punch. We can even block either of these 2 punches and counter, just like with Von Kaiser or Great Tiger. Considering these are the only 2 punches that he will use unless we take a knockdown, we should have no problems in this fight. Don begins the first minute and a half of this fight with some light offense, throwing a jab and then a hook in a pretty slow fashion. There is a way to activate a more aggressive pattern, but it involves dodging one of his punches, so unfortunately, we won't be able to get him to attack much faster. I end up knocking him down just after the 1 minute mark, and as soon as the clock hits 1:30, Don goes into full defense mode, and because there is nothing to do while he is in this state, we just stare each other down until the round ends. For the first 2 minutes and 10 seconds of round 2, nothing happens at all. Don taunts us, and we wait patiently. There's probably some life lesson right there. Anyway, those of you who are pretty familiar with this fight will have noticed that I didn't even bother manipulating random stars on this guy, which are 1 in 16 each, and he also got up with the big refill on his first knockdown. I suppose I did that to make this fight a little bit more challenging, because I'm so confident we will still get the win easily. Once he starts to attack us again, I can fight back. I think it's a little funny that I accidentally got this random star, but since this fight was beginning to drag on, I decided to keep it to speed things up. I managed to score the second knockdown just before the end of round 2, and when he gets up, I land both stars just before the round ends. In round 3, Don goes full berserk, throwing punch after punch in the pattern jab, hook, hook, jab, with no delays. This works in our favour, as now we can just intercept his punches even faster, and we can turn his offense against him. It isn't long before Don succumbs to our increased damage output, and we've managed another dodgeless victory. This run has surprised me so far. Every single fight, with the exception of Don 1, has been managed dodgeless, and the only fight I had a little trouble with was Bold Bull 2, but that was because I made some extra arbitrary restriction to give myself more of a challenge.
He's
Maybe
using
we can
Infernity.
for the next fight, Mr. Sandman. Mr. Sandman is one of the most difficult opponents in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and for good reason. He's fast, he hits hard, and he's one of the most intimidating special attacks in the game, the Dreamland Express. And perhaps worst of all for us, every single punch in his arsenal cannot be intercepted to deal damage to him. In reality, the only way to deal any damage without dodging is to block and counter his right side rolling jabs, and he only uses this punch sparingly for the first 50 seconds of the fight. There is only one way to begin doing some real damage to him. From the start of round 3, his guard slows down and we can manipulate it to land some punches. Also in round 3, we can finally earn stars and start picking out the pain. From the get-go, we have only one game plan. Figure out how to survive until round 3, and then somehow win without dodging. Let's go. The fight begins with us cancelling every single rolling jab on the last frame, even the ones that I could have used to deal some damage. My thinking was that I needed to absolutely preserve as much HP as possible, so I shouldn't even entertain the idea of blocking. I also manipulated the long delay for the 6th and 11th jabs, so I could preserve as many hearts as I can, and luckily, we start this fight with 40. Now, this is where things get a little complicated. At 50 seconds, he is going to change into this pattern, and for the most part, we are going to stay in this loop with 5 hooks and then 2 rolling jabs. There is also something else. We can't exactly cancel any of these hooks. If you try to face punch during the hook will get cancelled, but Sandman will also dodge and retaliate with another hook, which costs me 2 hearts. Similarly, if you cancel them with a gut punch, Sandman will block, and he will also retaliate with a jab, which I will also have to block. It seems like the best strategy here is going to be to block all 5 of these hooks and cancel the 2 rolling jabs. But there is something that we can do that is slightly better. On only these 2 hooks, we can perform a guard raise, followed by a frame-perfect misdirected gut punch. By doing this, we can trick Sandman to not retaliate as we cancel the hooks. The reason it only works here is because there is enough of a delay before the hooks, which allows us to perform the guard manipulation. I continue to tap the perfect button until we come up to the 1 minute 30 mark, the trigger for the first Dreamland Express. I manipulate the longest delay and drag it out by forcing Sandman to block. Thankfully he doesn't retaliate when he is winding up for the DLX. Eventually, I can't drag it any longer, and I get rolled by the triple uppercuts, blocking each of them to reduce the damage. I'm forced to take my first knockdown at exactly 159 flat. If you were wondering, I could have dragged it down a little longer, but that would be extremely unwise. After 159 flat, getting up from a knockdown triggers Sandman to perform his Dreamland Express again, which is useful for the speedrun. Even getting up a 9 count to get the most amount of health and blocking, the Dreamland Express does so much damage that I'm just asking to get knocked down again, just to trigger another Dreamland Express. So, by taking the knockdown slightly earlier, we can avoid triggering a Dreamland Express. The rest of the round goes as usual. I cancel as many sending punches as I can, and when I can block. Eventually, I use up all my hearts and am forced to block alternating left and right hooks. I didn't really mention it earlier, but blocking hooks and jab while pink increases their damage from 2 to 4. I managed to hold on into round 2, where I press select to get a big refill and a nice refreshment of 15 hearts. Unfortunately, this is where the big problem starts to occur. Sandman is scheduled to perform a Dreamland Express at 1 and 2 minutes in round 2. And furthermore, if I take a knockdown, as soon as I get up, he is still going to perform those triple uppercuts. Luckily, if I turn pink just as the clock ticks over one of the timed triggers, the pink pattern, which is alternating
I should have been patient with Raigeki.
Dreamland Express. The problem is that 15 hearts just isn't quite enough. I go pink way before 1 minute and get rolled by the DLX, taking my second knockdown and getting up for the final time. This just forces another DLX, which I take massive damage from, and there is still another one coming at 2 minutes. Unfortunately, a 1-dodge run of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is also impossible. I tried switching things around a little bit, even going back and skipping the 1 minute 30 DLX in round 1 by going pink early, but the result is always the same. Unfortunately, Sandman's Dreamland Express simply dishes out too much damage and it gets triggered far too often. Ultimately, my goal now becomes to minimize the amount of dodges I have to perform. I use 2 of them here. By running out of hearts early at the start of round 2, I can dodge twice to recover from pink and regain 10 hearts. I quickly use those 10 hearts to make sure I go pink right as the clock ticks over 1 minute, skipping the DLX. Of course, I'm forced to block until I get knocked down, but none of his punches are uppercuts, and I block until just before the 2 minute mark. Getting the knockdown here is crucial, as it ends up triggering the knockdown DLX and completely skips over the 2 minute DLX. I use up all 9 of my hearts, delaying his special for as long as possible. I end up blocking the first 2 uppercuts, but I'm forced to dodge the third, as the round ends with Little Mac exactly 1 hit away from being knocked down. With Little Mac on life support, a refreshment of 10 hearts is extremely nice. I land a couple of gut punches and get stars quickly, but also regain a tiny amount of life, which means we can also block more than twice. I block the hook and then perform a max damage star punch while Sandman is standing still, and then a regular damage star punch as he tries to hook. I land a couple more punches, getting stars on each, and then block a flurry of Sandman's hooks. Little Mac's life recovery coming in clutch. I then drop Sandman for the first time with Little Mac at 3 stars, all prepared for the next knockdown. And prepared we need to be, because from round 2 onwards, every time you knock Sandman down, he comes back up to fight another DLX. Sandman gets up here with a near full refill of 88 health. I have to manipulate the longest delay for his Dreamland Express as I fire up a trio of my own uppercuts, giving Sandman a taste of his own medicine. I'm able to finish the bet by repeatedly gut punching and replenishing my stars just before Sandman can fire off his uppercuts. Once again, Sandman gets up and tries to perform his Dreamland Express, but I manipulate the longest delay and am able to finish the fight, firing off 3 star punches. Unfortunately, I was not able to defeat Sandman dodgeless. It took not 1, not 2, but 3 dodges to just barely survive into round 3, where the fight gets much more manageable, and I was finally able to step on the gas and an offense of my own. With the run now at 4 dodges, we are finally up to the champion of the world circuit, Super Macho Man. As the penultimate boss of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Super Macho Man is a very difficult opponent, possessing incredible agility and power. He has a wide variety of punches, hooks, uppercuts, and his signature spin punches.
Yeah, let's try Exodia one more time.
Most deadly, getting hit by a single time will result in an instant knockdown. Unlike Sandman, Macho has some glaring weaknesses from the get-go. He has a slow guard which we can manipulate to land punches. Both his hooks and uppercuts can be cancelled and intercepted, and we can get stars in the first round. Unfortunately, Macho's super spin punch is the only punch that cannot be interrupted in any way. It can't be intercepted, cancelled, or blocked, so when he uses it, I'll be forced to take the knockdown. On the bright side, Macho will only perform this punch after he gets up from a knockdown. As long as we score the first knockdown of the fight, and can knock him down 3 times in a single round, this fight should be doable dodgeless. I begin the fight manipulating Macho's guard and landing a gut punch face punch combo known as a Dizzy Destroyer. I then cancel Macho's first punch and land a face punch. I cancel his second punch and land a gut punch in between his second and third punches and earn my first star. I then cancel punches 3, 4, and 5, manipulating Pan and the longest delay on the lead up to his single spin punch. I fire off max damage star punches and more Dizzy Destroyers to replenish my stars. By manipulating the long delay, I'm able to just barely score the first knockdown before perform his next attack. When Macho gets up, his first punch will be the super spin punch, and it has 2 delays. By manipulating the long delay, I'm able to land 4 regular punches and another max damage star punch before Macho knocks me down with the super spin punch. I get up on 9 to make sure I get the full HP refill. Being at full health means Macho will get up with less health.
Wish me luck. Believe in the heart of the
I
cards.
repeat a very similar strategy from the first section of the fight, leading with a Dizzy Destroyer and cancelling all 5 of Macho's punches before scoring the second knockdown. When Macho gets up, I deal as much damage as possible before he eventually backs up, and I'm forced to take my second knockdown. With Macho only at 14 health left, I quickly finish him off, and we have just beaten the champ of the world circuit, dodgeless.
Fuck this card of consonants.
There is a decent amount of RNG and precision that goes into that fight, and there is a huge variety of things that may or may
I already lost, lol.
Most importantly, is it possible for a human? The answer is yes. A few years ago, I spent some time grinding out a fast dodgeless fight for Super Macho Man. The time I managed to get was a 107.25, which is definitely beatable, especially if you are willing to use more risky strategies. Here we are, the final fight in the game. Mike Tyson. If you were thinking we could beat Mike Tyson without dodging, you were sorely mistaken. For the first minute and a half, Tyson throws his dynamite uppercuts, and every single one of them is a one-hit knockdown. There is no way to intercept or cancel them. If you don't want to get hit, you must dodge them. I had a look at the speedrun for this fight, and it involved dodging 17 uppercuts and 6 hooks for a total of 23 dodges. Our first order of business is to try and minimize the amount of times I am forced to dodge during the first minute and a half of this fight. Since we start with 15 hearts, I force Tyson to block 10 times with face punches, since they waste the most amount of time. I then dodge his first uppercut and perform a gut punch on the opposite side as late as possible, activating the stun glitch. The stun glitch is probably one of the least known about glitches in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, as as its effects aren't very obvious. If you watch full game speedruns, you won't even see this glitch performed, and its only practical use in speedrunning is in the Super Mario Man World Record, and even then, its use seems odd, but it is extremely useful. In the Tyson fight, we are going to use it to stall for more time. By performing a 1 frame up press, a gut punch, and then repressing up after 1 frame has elapsed, we can actually stun Tyson in the gut, which is impossible unless we activate the stun glitch. The most useful thing about this is that Tyson remains stunned for much longer when stunned in the gut, about 4 times longer. I then land a frame-perfect gut punch on the last possible frame, dealing another 5 damage as well as wasting some extra frames. I then perform the stun glitch again on his second uppercut, with the same routine as before to waste some more time and deal damage. With 3 hearts left, I force him to block a face punch 1 more time, and then dodge a 3rd uppercut, and perform the stun glitch again. With 1 heart left, wait until the last frame possible, and then use it to turn pink. This causes Tyson's pattern to reset, including his first move timer, which is quite long, and then by blocking, you can actually survive Tyson's uppercut, as it will deal 95 damage, leaving Little Mac with 1 hit point remaining. I get clocked by the second uppercut, as there is nothing more I can do, although I am extremely happy to have stalled for a whole minute using only 3 dodges. I get up on the count of 9 for a full rebuild at 9 hearts, and then begin stalling again. This time I don't perform any dodges, and take my second knockdown just before 1 minute 30, where he stops his uppercuts. Getting up on the count of 9 again, I quickly use up all 9 hearts, cancelling his hooks whilst also manipulating the slowest pattern. Once I'm out of hearts, I'm forced to block, taking 4 damage apiece, but I managed to hold down the entirety of round 1, having only used 3 dodges. I press select for round 2, getting as much health back as possible as I want to end it here and now. In round 2, we finally get access to stars, and for the first 30 seconds, Tyson throws jabs which we can block and get stars off of with the left gut punch. Perfect. After every second jab, we can even land a star punch provided we get the longest possible delay, which I manipulate. And just as Tyson changes pattern at 30 seconds and tries to hit us with the hook, land a star punch and score our first knockdown. Because Little Mac is no longer at full health, Tyson's refill here is random. He could get up 64, 72, or 88 health, and interestingly, I need the largest health refill. You'll see why a little later. Tyson leads with 2 hooks, which I block and turn pink. In round 2, the pink pattern is hook, followed by 2 uppercuts, and luckily, these uppercuts are much weaker than the ones in round 1. I block them to reduce the damage, and Little Mac gets knocked down for the 3rd time. Thankfully, game designers allowed you to get up a 3rd time against Mike Tyson. Tyson goes for 3 hooks, and I cancel each of them. I then frame perfectly duck an uppercut, making this my 4th dodge of the fight. By ducking perfectly, counter punch Tyson a total of 16 times, and on the final hit, I land a frame perfect punch getting a star, so Tyson will uppercut again 1 frame before the blinking pattern at 1 minute 30. I dodge the second uppercut, since performing a frame perfect duck here is impossible. I delay every punch to 1 frame before it can trigger the frame perfect punch, which would end my combo, and on the final hit, I delay that extra frame to get a star. Finally, the timer triggers the 1 minute 30 blinking pattern. During this, there is a 2 frame window where if you land a punch, Tyson will be instantly knocked down. However, I don't want to hit this punch.
I'm an idiot.
Instead, I get a star on the last possible frame. I block the dynamite hooks from Tyson and delay my punches, continuing to waste as much time as possible, but I make sure to maintain 4 hearts in the bank before scoring the knockdown. These extreme delay tactics are exactly why I need the big refill. Once the clock goes past 2 minutes in round 2, Tyson's guard slows down and we can manipulate it to land some punches. I needed the 4 hearts in the bank so I could survive getting past the initial 3 hooks. When the clock gets to 2 minutes 30, he'll perform his blinking pattern again, and this time, I will have to hit the 2 frame window for the instant knockdown. Thanks to his guard slowing down,
I need a Dragon Ryudan.
Timer for his uppercut by repeatedly raising his guard with gut
That's
punches.
not a Dragon
And when
Ryudan.
the timer finally hits 2 minutes 30, the trigger for his blinking pattern goes off, and we knock him down in style with a star punch. We just defeated Mike Tyson with only 5 dodges. It's crazy how almost every single fight in this game can be beaten without needing to dodge. It's only Don 1, Sandman, and Tyson that put a stop to our perfect run. But in the end, I'm still surprised we managed to keep it in the single digits.
All we can do now is believe
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out
in the
Challenge
heart
or other ideas and
of the
you
cards.
about it? If you do, leave a comment down below and I'll check it out. Let me know what you guys want to see. Once again,
I draw!
and I'll see you in the next video.
No! What did I tell ya? Did you believe you stood a chance? Fuck you. Who am I fucking kidding? I lost 3 times him. What? Is the flower lady the true villain? How terrible. Card games. Children's card games aren't meant to be used for this. I didn't lose. Why am I here? You want a duel? Who am I kidding? He doesn't want a duel. The reason he's here is because of card games. This is a coal mine, isn't it? This is very dangerous. A hole like this is ripe for cave-ins. How did you... What? Oh, okay. Nice. Reminds me of chapter 13, or was it 14 of Resident Evil 4? Man, I want to play that game again. I don't care if it's the remake or the original. That part's a banger. How contrived. Oh, hello, it's you two. Yeah, a war being fought with fucking children's card games. Well, that's why it's called a hideout. I'm gonna make a save state. But I don't think this will lead to a game over. I'm just too lazy to go back to a save point. Wow, you suck even more than... The ideal outcome was achieved. Na 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 na. I did it. Yeah, so this is what the Yu-Gi-Oh anime would have been like if Weevil didn't do his thing. It's contrived, but what else could you have done? People wanted more Yu-Gi-Oh! More card game instead of just game for your manga. Sure, call that a draw. I turn 1 Exodia'd you. I guess you beat him up too. Oh my god. It's a 2v1. How does that work? Isn't that a little unfair? I'll be no help if I use Exodia, so... Even though Exodia is supposed to be a card about friendship. It unfortunately does not do in attack duel for it. Let's try out Gimmick Fairies. But with 3 less cards on the deck. By a technicality, and the enemy getting 11,000 HP on a technicality. That's not very fair. He's the one at the real advantage here. Just barely, wow. Look how much of an advantage he's gonna get on just the first turn. Because he's got 10 fucking cards. I'm counting on you here, Callan. Holy shit, this deck is deadly. Oh my god. I've actually always wanted to make a deck like this. It's just didn't have enough knowledge, and it didn't feel like an interesting enough deck. Okay, well, he won't be able to kill me with this as long as he doesn't summon a monster or something like that, which is highly unlikely. Oh my god. Okay, he set it up. He set it down. Holy shit. Tell me you have something, Callan. What? We lose! Okay, thankfully they activated simultaneously, so we only... Never mind. Okay, we still live, just barely. Holy shit. Callan, please. No! Holy shit. Yeah, this is why I saved. Stated. Wait, did I change my deck? Nope. This is how we're doing this then. Ah! Now, if you're gonna get card advantage as a quote-unquote handicap for a duel battle, it should be 7 cards. At most. Oh, he gets to go first. Chain detonation sure is something. Wow, that's a really terrible hand you've got there. Considering what your deck's supposed to be about. Leave it all up to me. Bro, that deck's kind of insane. At least in this era. In modern era Yu-Gi-Oh, something like this would just be absolute garbage. Yeah, I'll start with Upstart Goblin first. I don't think order matters too much. A little unfortunate, but ultimately irrelevant. Should have started with Tune. Yep. Unfortunate. We just got a Miracle Mallet our way out. Yeah, let's keep these. I'm confident. There you go. I agree. A realist would have brought guns instead to a war. Hello, Crow. I need to pee. I was gonna wait until I ended this video, but I can't hold it anymore. Cool, the whole pro tag team's here. Well, someone's missing. No more stupid card games. Bullshit wars. Pearl territory, please. You're adopting them? Why is he such an edgelord? Even his deck's so fucking edgy. It's all about being empty. It's called Satisfaction Town now, okay. There's still chapters left. So I'm guessing this takes place like post-anime. Hell yeah. I like that one, I guess. What else you got? Twilight Moon, that makes no fucking sense. What part of us is Twilight Moon? Alright, we're back to the beginning. Let's go with Caprice Trio. Oh boy. May as well. I'm gonna make another save state. I'm a bit paranoid. Can ask for turbo jewels. I can't use Exodia on a turbo format. May as well, let's go return the parts first. Huh? So, where is Yusui's garage? Yusei! What's a motorcycle? Oh, holy shit. Oh, she looks cool. Ah, here we go, Fountain Plaza. This is a new area, isn't it? Whack. I do recognize this place from the show, though. Although I'm pretty sure the only place that technically isn't from the show is Crash Town. Blue Ice Mountain? Hey, I know you. I've seen porn of you. Her name's Carly. Yeah. Hello, little boy. Ooh, Dee Dee. Warrior lady. I can actually just go for all of his stuff, but that'll wait for next part. For now, let's just... And good, there's a save point here. Here's a ranch. Okay. Great, another villain on the loose. Alright, I'm gonna end things there.